Hello, guys. A very good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Today we are dealing with Article 20 of our Indian Constitution. So, before getting into the slide, I'll be just briefing you about the fundamental rights of our Indian Constitution. Our Indian Constitution is the longest written constitution in the world, okay? And it contains 395 articles, 22 parts, and 12 schedules. And right now we have six fundamental rights. Actually, we had seven fundamental rights, but a right to property was abolished on 44th Amendment of 1978. So right now we have six fundamental rights, and these rights are preserved in part 3 of the constitution. As I told, there are 22 parts in Indian constitution. So among them, in part 3 of the constitution, the fundamental rights have been preserved. So what are fundamental rights? So these rights are basic human rights, okay, which are given by our constitution to all the citizens of India. So these rights are universally to it is up, it applies to universally to each and everyone, irrespective of race, birthplace, religion, caste, sex, creed, etc. Okay, these are very essential for all round development of an individual as well as for the entire country as well. So these rights are provided to people in order to live with dignity and integrity. So whenever these rights are violated by some person, you can go and sue a complaint in the court of law. So the court will give a remedy if a particular person violates your rights. Okay, so this is the gist. This is the gist about fundamental rights. So let's get into the slide. So today my topic is Article 20 of Fundamental Rights of Indian Constitution. So Article 20, it is actually not a right. It is basically a safeguard which is given to an accused. Okay, it is given to those people who are accused of an offense. Okay, so Article 20 gives three safeguards. So one is no post facto criminal laws, double jeopardy, and no self incrimination. So let's discuss each one of them. Post facto laws. So what is post facto laws? So post facto law is nothing but it is a Latin term which means after the fact. It means that no person shall be convicted of an offense except for violation of law in force at the time of commission of that act, which is considered as an offense. For example, if I want to file a complaint on a particular person, I will go to the police station and I will file a complaint. Okay, the police will ask like what happened, what exactly happened. So I'll explain in detail. Okay, according to me, the action which a person is committed, according to me, I feel that it is an offense. But the police will first check whether that action is being and which is being under the IPC or not. That action should be, that offense should be under the IPC. Okay, if it is not under the IPC, the court cannot impose any punishment to the person who is being committed that offense. Okay. Um, so when a parliament is making any law, it can have two types of effect. Okay, that is retrospective and prospective. So what is retrospective? Retrospective is nothing but dating back a law. Okay, so for example, in this year budget today, they have discussed that to increase GST on a particular service from 12% to 15%. So they have approved the budget on May 15th, 2017. However, they told it will be enforced from Jan 1st, 2018. So all those people who have been paying the tax all these years, they have to pay extra 3% from Jan 1st, 2018. Okay, this is retrospective effect. Okay, retrospective is nothing but dating back a law. So this retrospective effect is applicable only to the civil laws. Okay, it is not it does not deal with criminal laws. Okay, but criminal laws deals with only prospective effect. What is prospective effect? Prospective effect is nothing but the future dated. For example, you can take Nirbhaya's case where a juvenile was involved in that particular case. At that point of time, a court imposed only 4 years of imprisonment, because at that point of time, only 4 years of imprisonment was prescribed under the law. But now it's been completely changed. Okay, now they cannot impose 4 years of imprisonment for the same act for the minor, right? So that is prospective effect. So prospective effect will be will come under only criminal laws. Okay, it doesn't applies to civil laws. Okay, so example I have given over there: if a person is committed a murder, court imposes 3 years of imprisonment prescribed by the law. They cannot impose more than what is prescribed. Okay, so here in post facto laws you have to remember 3 points. The first one is, um, when a particular person commits a particular offense, that particular action, that particular offense should be under the IPC. Okay. The second one is, criminal laws only deals with prospective effect. Okay. The third one, any person, he should be given a particular punishment which is subjected under the law. He cannot, they cannot give a greater punishment then what is prescribed under the law. Okay, that is called post facto laws. Next is double jeopardy. So double jeopardy means no person can be punished twice for the same offense. For example, a person has committed some mistake, some offense, so the high court has imposed 7 years of imprisonment for a particular case to a particular offender. Okay, this person, he goes to a Supreme Court and appeal to the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court will impose 10 years of imprisonment. So now, will he get 17 years of imprisonment? 7 plus 10? No, he can serve only 10 years of imprisonment. Okay, that is called double jeopardy. Applies to only those punishments given by the court of law, which includes courts and quasi judicial bodies. It does not apply in case of punishments given by non judicial bodies. Meaning, example, see, a civil servant is being imposed 10 years of imprisonment for the scam which he is being committed. Okay. So after this, the department initiates action and he is dismissed from that particular service. Okay. So here, punishment of 10 years and dismissal does not constitute a double jeopardy, is because punishment of 10 years is being given by the judicial body, whereas dismissal is being given by the administrative body. Okay, so this doesn't constitute a double jeopardy. Hope it's clear. Let's go to the next slide. Prohibition against self incrimination. So what is prohibition against self incrimination? Means that no person who is accused of offense shall be compelled to be witness against himself. See, if at all I am accused of a crime, if at all I have committed a crime, I cannot go to the police station and accept that yes, I have committed so and so crime. I cannot accept that. It doesn't constitute, I mean, it doesn't, it will not be a witness in the court. If I accept, my acceptance cannot be taken as a witness in the court. Okay, and it shall not be compelled to be a witness against himself. See, what is compelled meaning? Compelled is nothing but no person can be forced to accept his mistake. Okay, nobody can be forced. And if at all, see, the constitution is not stopping you from gathering evidences. Why? Because if at all you have to prove to the court that he has committed offense, he has committed so and so offense, uh, they have to gather the information, they have to gather the evidences. So these evidences can be gathered by taking his blood samples, or by taking his fingerprints, or by going to his place. So the constitution is not stopping from gathering such evidences. But if a person goes to a police station and if he accepts his crime, it is illegal. It does not, it can't be accepted under the law. Okay. However, if a person wants to accept voluntarily that he is committed so and so crime, he can accept in front of the judicial magistrate, but not in front of the police officer. It is not accepted. Okay. So that's what it tells. It is not violated when the accused volunteers evidence against himself before a magistrate. Okay, if he accepts in front of the magistrate, it is not violated. But at the same time, if he accepts his crime in front of the police officer, it is violated. Okay, that's what prohibition against self-incrimination means. So today we have discussed Article 20, which tells the safeguards. Okay, these three are the safeguards which is under Article 20. Okay, no post facto criminal law, double jeopardy, and no self-incrimination. Okay, guys, I hope it was helpful for you. Thanks for attending. Have a great evening. Thank you.